Captain Hyun-sik Park stood on the bridge of the UES Dauntless, watching the stars through the main screen. His ship was one of humanity's most powerful warships, built for protection and exploration along the outer edges of human space. The crew had been on patrol for 3 weeks, checking mining colonies and trade routes for any signs of trouble. "Captain," called Commander So-min Lee from her position at the tactical station. Her voice was calm but alert. "I'm picking up something strange on long-range sensors." Hyun-sik walked over to look at her screen. The display showed dozens of energy signatures moving in perfect formation near the new Busan mining colony. The shapes were unlike anything in their computer files. "What are we looking at, Commander?" he asked. So-min touched a few controls and the image became clearer. "Sir, I count 37 vessels. They're big, maybe twice the size of our heavy cruisers. The energy readings are off the charts and their hull design is completely unknown." The bridge crew went quiet. Everyone knew what this meant. After 200 years of space travel, humanity had finally met someone else. "Alert status yellow," Hyun-sik ordered. "Send a message to Earth Command. Tell them we have possible first contact at New Busan. Navigation. Set course for the colony, best speed." The Dauntless turned toward the mining world, its powerful engines pushing the ship faster than most alien vessels could travel. But Hyun-sik wasn't thinking about speed. He was thinking about what they might find when they arrived. 2 hours later, they dropped out of hyperspace near New Busan. The alien fleet was arranged in a perfect circle around the small mining colony. Their ships were beautiful in a cold way, made of what looked like living crystal that caught and reflected starlight. Each vessel was covered in geometric patterns that seemed to shift and change as they watched. "Incoming. Transmission," reported Communications Officer Dalho Kim. "It's coming from the largest ship in their formation. Put it on screen," Hyun-sik said. The main display changed to show a tall, thin alien with pale blue skin and 4 arms. Its face was narrow with large, dark eyes that seemed to look right through the camera. When it spoke, the translation computer turned its words into perfect English. "Primitive vessel, you will identify yourself immediately. I am Admiral Rythun of the Veltar Confederation. By order of the Galactic Council, this system is now under our protection. You will power down your weapons and prepare to be boarded." The bridge crew looked at their captain. Hyun-sik studied the alien's face for a moment, then nodded to Dalho. "Open a channel," he said. The communication link activated, and Hyun-sik stepped forward so the alien could see him clearly. "Admiral Rythun, I am Captain Hyun-sik Park of the United Earth ship Dauntless. This is human space, specifically the territory of the Earth Colonial Union. State your business here, or withdraw from our system." The alien's 4 eyes widened slightly. Behind Admiral Rythun, other aliens could be seen moving around what looked like a command center. They seemed surprised by the human response. "Human." Admiral Rythun said the word like he was tasting something strange. "You are the species that has been detected using hyperspace travel without permission. Such technology is restricted to members of the Galactic Council. We didn't know we needed permission to travel between our own worlds," Hyun-sik replied. His voice stayed calm and professional. "As I said, this is human space. You're welcome to visit peacefully, but you don't have authority here." Admiral Rythun's thin face showed what might have been anger. "Impossible. No species speaks to the Veltar Confederation in such a manner. We have ruled this galaxy for 12,000 years. Well, Admiral, you've never met humans before," Hyun-sik said with a slight smile. "We tend to be different." The communication went silent for several minutes. On the tactical display, So-min watched the alien ships carefully. Their energy readings were steady, but she could see weapon systems charging. "Captain," she said quietly, "they're powering up what look like offensive systems." Hyun-sik nodded but kept his eyes on the main screen. When Admiral Rythun appeared again, his expression was colder. "Captain Park, you will accept the terms I'm about to offer or face the consequences. The Veltar Confederation will grant your species protection status within the Galactic Council. In exchange, you will provide us with mining rights to 75% of your worlds and submit to our guidance in all matters of galactic importance." "And if we refuse?" Hyun-sik asked. "Then we will demonstrate why no species has ever refused the Confederation," Admiral Rythun replied. Hyun-sik looked around his bridge. His crew was ready, waiting for his orders. These people had volunteered to explore the unknown and protect human colonies. They hadn't come here to surrender to the first aliens they met. Admiral, I need to discuss this with my government, Hyun-sik said. Give us 1 hour to consider your offer. You have 30 minutes, Admiral Raython said, and cut the communication. Hyun-sik turned to his crew. Options? Sir, So-min said, checking her displays. Their technology is advanced, but not as much as they want us to think. Our defensive systems can handle their weapons, at least for a while. And our own weapons. She paused. Let's just say they might be surprised. Chief Engineer Tae-ho Choi spoke up from his station. Captain, I've been scanning their ships. They're powerful, but they're designed for fighting enemies who use the same basic technology they do. Our systems work on completely different principles. What do you mean? Hyun-sik asked. They use directed energy weapons and particle beams, standard galactic technology, but we developed our weapons to fight in our own solar system, where that kind of technology doesn't work well because of all the radiation and magnetic fields. Our gravitational pulse weapons and adaptive shielding are something they've probably never seen before. Hyun-sik considered this. Humanity had indeed developed differently from what appeared to be normal galactic civilization. Earth's solar system was chaotic and dangerous, filled with asteroid belts, radiation storms, and magnetic anomalies. Human technology had been designed to work in those conditions. Sir, Dalho reported, I'm getting a message from New Busan Colony. They're asking if they should evacuate. Tell them to go to emergency shelters but stay put. Hyun-sik replied. We're not abandoning them. The 30 minutes passed quickly. When Admiral Raython appeared on screen again, his expression was impatient. Have you reached a decision, Captain Park? Hyun-sik stood straight and looked directly at the alien commander. Yes, Admiral. We decline your offer. Humans don't kneel to anyone, even aliens with bigger ships. For a moment, Admiral Raython looked genuinely shocked. Then his face turned cold and angry. Then you have chosen death, primitive. The Veltar Confederation will demonstrate why we rule the galaxy. The communication cut off, and immediately the alien ships began moving into attack formation. On the tactical display, So-min watched energy levels spike across their entire fleet. All hands battle stations, Hyun-sik announced throughout the ship. This is not a drill. Prepare for combat. Red lights flashed across the bridge as the crew prepared for humanity's first space battle with an alien species. Outside, 37 crystal ships moved to surround the single human vessel. Admiral Raython was about to learn that humans had spent 2 centuries preparing for exactly this moment, even if they hadn't known who they might have to fight. The galaxy was about to discover that Earth's children were not easy prey. The first alien weapon fired at the Dauntless looked like a beam of pure starlight. It struck the human ship's shields and spread across them like water hitting glass. The energy dissipated harmlessly into space. Admiral Raython stared at his tactical display in confusion. The reading showed that his ships had fired enough energy to destroy a moon, but the human vessel appeared completely undamaged. Fire again, he ordered. All ships concentrated barrage. 37 Veltar ships opened fire simultaneously. The space around the Dauntless filled with brilliant energy beams and particle streams. The human ship disappeared inside a ball of destructive light that would have vaporized any known vessel. When the energy faded, the Dauntless emerged without a scratch. Captain Hyun-sik opened a communication channel to the alien fleet. Admiral Raython, your demonstration is noted. We're still here. Now please withdraw from human space or we'll be forced to respond. On his bridge, Admiral Raython felt something he hadn't experienced in centuries. Uncertainty. His weapons officer, a nervous Veltar named Sub-Commander Kelvan, was running diagnostics on all their systems. Sir, Kelvan reported, our weapons are functioning perfectly. The energy output was exactly as calculated, but their shields absorbed everything without any sign of stress. How is that possible? Admiral Raython demanded. I don't know, sir. Their shielding technology is unlike anything in our databases. It appears to convert incoming energy into some kind of field distortion that spreads the impact across multiple dimensional layers. Admiral Raython didn't understand half of what his weapons officer had said, but he understood enough. These humans had defenses that his fleet couldn't penetrate. That was impossible. The Veltar Confederation had the most advanced military technology in the galaxy. Open a channel to their ship, he ordered. When Captain Park appeared on screen, he looked calm and professional. Behind him, his bridge crew was working quietly at their stations, showing no signs of stress or fear. Admiral, Hyun-sik said, I believe we should talk. Indeed, Admiral Raython replied. He was an experienced commander who knew when tactics needed to change. I propose a meeting between our diplomatic representatives. Agreed. We'll prepare a meeting room aboard the Dauntless. You may bring a small delegation. Within an hour, Admiral Rythan and 3 of his officers materialized in the Dauntless transporter room. They had expected to find a crude, primitive facility. Instead, they found a clean, well-designed space with technology that seemed to anticipate their needs. The environmental controls had automatically adjusted to provide the exact atmosphere mixture that Veltar required. A human woman in a formal uniform stepped forward to greet them. She was small compared to the tall aliens, but her bearing was confident and dignified. "Welcome aboard the Dauntless," she said. "I am Ambassador Jiwoo Kim, representing the Earth Colonial Union. Please follow me to our conference room." As they walked through the ship's corridors, the Veltar delegation noticed more impressive details. The walls displayed real-time translations of their conversation in perfect Veltar script. The lighting adjusted automatically to frequencies that were easier on their large eyes. Even the floor coverings seemed designed to accommodate their different walking style. "How did you know about our environmental needs?" Admiral Rythan asked. "We learned what we could from scanning your ships," Ambassador Kim replied. "Our computers analyzed your hull materials, atmospheric emissions, and energy signatures to determine what you might require for comfort." The conference room was equally impressive. The table was set with refreshments that somehow perfectly matched Veltar dietary requirements, despite the fact that no human had ever met their species before. "Please be seated," Ambassador Kim said. "Would you like to begin with formal introductions, or shall we discuss the situation directly?" Admiral Rythan found himself slightly off balance. In 12,000 years of Veltar expansion, first contact always followed the same pattern. Primitive species either attacked helplessly or immediately surrendered. None had ever invited the Confederation to a diplomatic meeting with refreshments. "Ambassador Kim," he began, "I believe there has been a misunderstanding. The Veltar Confederation is offering your species a great honor. Membership in the Galactic Council as a protected servant race is not something we grant lightly." "I appreciate that, Admiral," Jiwoo replied, "but I think you may have misunderstood us as well. Humans don't seek protection from other species. We prefer partnerships between equals." Sub-Commander Kelvon, who served as the delegation's diplomatic advisor, leaned forward. "Ambassador, you must understand. The galaxy operates under certain established principles. Stronger species guide weaker ones. It has been this way for millennia." "That may be how things work elsewhere," Jiwoo said calmly. "But humanity has different principles. We believe in mutual respect and cooperation. We're willing to trade knowledge, share resources, and work together on common goals. But we won't accept a subordinate position." Admiral Rythan felt his frustration growing. "You have one ship. We have thousands. You have a few dozen worlds. We control hundreds of systems. What makes you think you can negotiate as equals?" "Because equality isn't about how many ships you have, Admiral," Jiwoo replied. "It's about respecting each other's right to exist and make their own choices. Your fleet couldn't damage our ship despite overwhelming firepower. That suggests our technology is more advanced than you expected. But even if we were weaker, we would still deserve to be treated with dignity." The human ambassador reached into her briefcase and pulled out a data tablet. "I'd like to present a counter-proposal to your offer." She slid the tablet across the table. Admiral Rythan picked it up and began reading. His expression changed from annoyance to surprise to something approaching shock. "This is impossible," he said. "What does it say?" Sub-Commander Kelvon asked. "They're offering us a mutual defense pact," Admiral Rythan said slowly. "Trade agreements for rare minerals and technological exchange. Joint research projects. And they want to establish formal diplomatic relations with all major galactic powers." "Yes," Jiwoo confirmed. "We're interested in learning about galactic civilization. We have technologies and perspectives that might be useful to other species, and we're always eager to make new friends." Admiral Rythan set down the tablet and stared at the human ambassador. "Ambassador Kim, no species has ever made such proposals to the Veltar Confederation. We are offered tribute, not partnership." "Then perhaps it's time for something new," Jiwoo said with a slight smile. "Humans have found that we accomplish more through cooperation than domination. Maybe the galaxy could benefit from that approach." The Veltar delegation spent the next 3 hours in detailed discussions with Ambassador Kim. They learned about human history, human technology and human philosophy. They discovered that this species had developed in isolation, creating solutions to problems that galactic civilization had never encountered. More disturbing to Admiral Raython was the growing realization that humans might actually be more advanced than the Confederation in several key areas. Their defensive technology was clearly superior. Their diplomatic approach was more sophisticated than anything he had encountered, and their scientific methods seemed to produce innovations at a remarkable rate. "Admiral," Jiwoo said as the meeting neared its end, "I hope you'll consider our proposal seriously. Humanity is interested in joining galactic civilization, but as partners, not servants. We have much to offer and much to learn." Admiral Raython stood to leave, his mind spinning with new concepts and possibilities. "Ambassador Kim, this has been educational. I will need to consult with my government before responding to your proposals." "Of course," Jiwoo replied. "Take all the time you need. We're not going anywhere." As the Veltar delegation transported back to their flagship, Admiral Raython found himself facing a problem he had never encountered before. For the first time in his long career, he had met a species that refused to be conquered and possessed the power to enforce that refusal. The question now was whether the Veltar Confederation was ready to accept partners instead of subjects, and whether the galaxy was ready for the changes that humanity might bring. Admiral Raython returned to his flagship with a head full of confusion and pride, wounded deeper than any battle scar. He called an immediate meeting with his senior staff to discuss what they had learned about the humans. "Sir," Subcommander Kelvon reported, "I've analyzed everything we observed aboard their vessel. Their technology is definitely more advanced than ours in several key areas. Their shielding system appears to be based on gravitational field manipulation, something our scientists have only theorized about." "What about their weapons?" Admiral Raython asked. "Unknown, sir. They never powered up any offensive systems during our meeting, but given their defensive capabilities, we should assume they have weapons to match." Admiral Raython paced around his command center thinking. The Veltar Confederation had built its power on technological superiority and military strength, but these humans had defensive technology that made his fleet's weapons useless. Worse, they had treated him as an equal during negotiations, something that had never happened before. "Sir," another officer spoke up, "what are our orders from the Confederation Council?" Admiral Raython had received those orders an hour ago. They were simple and direct. Demonstrate Veltar power to the humans, force their submission, or destroy them entirely. The Council could not allow news of a species that could resist Confederation might to spread through the galaxy. "We have our orders," he said finally, "but we cannot attack their main ship directly. Our weapons appear to be ineffective against their defenses." "What about the mining colony?" Subcommander Kelvon suggested. "A limited strike against their civilian installation might convince them to be more reasonable." Admiral Raython considered this. The humans seemed to care about protecting their people. A surgical strike against non-essential targets at the colony might demonstrate Veltar power without causing too many casualties. "Prepare a bombardment of the mining facility," he ordered. "Target their shield generators and power plants. Make it clear that we could destroy everything if we chose to, but show restraint. We want them to surrender, not fight to the death." What Admiral Raython didn't know was that Chief Engineer Taeho Choi had been very busy during the 3-hour diplomatic meeting. While Ambassador Kim talked with the aliens, Taeho had quietly upgraded the New Busan colony's defensive systems using technologies reverse-engineered. From scanning the Veltar ships, Taeho was a brilliant engineer who had spent his career solving impossible problems with limited resources. He had learned everything he could about Veltar technology from their energy signatures and hull scans. Then he had applied human engineering principles to create countermeasures. "Captain," Taeho reported to Hyun-sik over the communication link, "I've finished installing the new defensive grid around New Busan. Their weapons shouldn't be able to touch the colony now." "Are you certain?" Hyun-sik asked. "As certain as I can be without testing it," Taeho replied. "But sir, I think they're about to give us that test." On the tactical display, Somin watched the Veltar fleet moving into bombardment formation. "Captain, they're targeting the colony." "Energy weapons charging." Hyun-sik opened a channel to Admiral Raython. "Admiral, we detected your ships targeting our civilian installation. Stand down immediately." "Captain Park," Admiral Raython replied. Your people have 30 seconds to reconsider our generous offer. After that, we will demonstrate why the Veltar Confederation rules the galaxy." The communication cut off, and moments later, the alien fleet fired on New Busan colony. Brilliant energy beams lanced down toward the mining installation, carrying enough power to level mountains. The energy struck an invisible barrier around the colony and simply vanished. The beams spread harmlessly across adaptive shielding that analyzed and countered each attack in real time. When the bombardment ended, the colony was completely undamaged. Aboard the Veltar flagship, alarms were sounding. "Sir," Kelvan shouted, "our weapons had no effect." The colony absorbed our entire bombardment. Admiral Rython stared at his displays in disbelief. His fleet had just fired enough energy to destroy a small moon, and the human colony hadn't even flickered. Captain Hyun-sik's voice came over the communication system, calm and professional as always. "Admiral Rython, that was your demonstration. Now here's ours." The Dauntless, which had been holding position peacefully throughout the bombardment, suddenly came alive with energy. Weapon systems that the Veltar scanners couldn't identify powered up along the human ship's hull. "All Veltar vessels," Hyun-sik announced. "You have attacked a civilian target under our protection. We are now authorized to respond with appropriate force." The Dauntless fired a single shot from its main weapon array. The Veltar expected an energy beam or projectile. Instead, they watched in amazement as space itself seemed to ripple around 3 of their cruisers. Gravitational waves, carefully controlled and precisely targeted, struck the alien ships. The vessels weren't damaged, but they began spinning helplessly through space as their navigational systems failed, and their crews were thrown around inside. "What did they do to us?" Admiral Rython demanded. "Sir," his science officer reported, "they fired some kind of gravitational pulse weapon. It's disrupting our ship's equilibrium and navigation systems. The crews are experiencing severe disorientation, but there's no structural damage." Captain Hyun-sik's voice came over the communication again. "Admiral, your crews are unharmed, as you can verify with your sensors. Collect your ships and withdraw from this system, or we'll demonstrate our less gentle options." Admiral Rython looked at his tactical display. 3 of his most powerful cruisers were tumbling through space like toys, their crews too disoriented to regain control. The human ship had disabled them without causing any permanent damage, using technology that his scientists couldn't even understand. "Sir," Sub-Commander Kelvan said quietly, "recommend we withdraw. If they can do this to 3 ships simultaneously, they can probably disable our entire fleet. But we have 37 ships," Admiral Rython protested. "How can one vessel threaten our entire force?" "The same way one ship completely resisted our bombardment," Kelvan replied. "Sir, these humans have technology we don't understand. Their weapons work on principles our shields aren't designed to counter." Admiral Rython felt something he had never experienced in 2 centuries of military service: fear of a smaller force. But as he watched his disabled ship slowly regaining control with help from their escorts, he realized that Captain Park had given him a gift. The human could have destroyed those ships instead of just disabling them. "Signal the fleet," he ordered finally. "General withdrawal. All ships return to the rendezvous point." "Sir?" Kelvan asked. "What do we report to the Confederation Council?" Admiral Rython watched the human ship on his main screen. The Dauntless hadn't moved from its position, but every Veltar commander now knew that it could strike any of them at will. "We report that first contact with humanity requires a different approach," he said, "and that the galaxy has just become a much more complicated place." As the Veltar fleet withdrew from the New Busan system, news of their retreat began spreading through galactic communication networks. For the first time in 12,000 years, the mighty Veltar Confederation had been forced to withdraw by a single ship from an unknown species. Captain Hyun-sik watched the alien fleet disappear into hyperspace, then turned to his crew. "Well done, everyone, but I have a feeling this is just the beginning." He was right. Across the galaxy, other species were already analyzing reports of the encounter. The balance of power that had remained stable for millennia was about to change forever. News of the Veltar Confederation's retreat spread through the galaxy faster than any ship could travel. Within days, every major power knew that an unknown species had forced Admiral Rython's fleet to withdraw from a single system. For civilizations that had lived under Veltar dominance for thousands of years, the news was almost impossible to believe. Dr. Young-A Han, the Dauntless's chief xenobiologist, found herself busier than she had ever been in her career. Her small laboratory had become the most important diplomatic facility in human space as alien. Delegation after alien delegation requested meetings with the species that had humbled the Confederation. The first to arrive was Ambassador Velnara of the Kalani Republic, a proud species of blue-skinned humanoids who had maintained their independence through careful diplomacy and strategic alliances. The Kalani had never directly challenged the Veltar, but they had also never submitted to full Confederation rule. Dr. Han, Ambassador Velnara said as they met in the Dauntless's newly expanded diplomatic quarters, "My government requires detailed sensor logs of your encounter with Admiral Rythan's fleet. We must verify these reports before we can proceed with formal contact." Young Yi smiled politely. She had expected this request from every delegation. "Of course, Ambassador. We've prepared complete tactical recordings for review by any interested parties." The Kalani ambassador spent several hours analyzing the data with her technical staff. When she emerged from the review session, her expression had changed from skepticism to amazement. "This is remarkable," Velnara said. "Your defensive systems absorbed energy levels that should have destroyed any known vessel. And your weapons technology, we've never seen anything like gravitational pulse weapons. We developed our technology under unique circumstances," Young A explained. "Our home system is very chaotic, with radiation storms, asteroid fields, and magnetic anomalies. Standard galactic technology doesn't work well in those conditions, so we had to find different solutions." "Different indeed," Velnara agreed. "Dr. Han, the Kalani Republic would be very interested in establishing formal diplomatic relations with humanity. We believe our peoples could benefit from technological and cultural exchange." The second major delegation came from an even more significant source. The Etherian Collective, an ancient civilization that had ruled much of the galaxy before the Veltar rise to power, had remained in isolation for over 1,000 years. Their representative was a tall, ethereal being named Consciousness of Stars, who communicated through complex telepathic harmonics that required special translation equipment. Young species of Earth, the Etherians' translated thoughts appeared on Dr. Han's screen. "The collective observes with great interest your introduction to galactic affairs. We have watched the Veltar expansion with concern. Your resistance to their dominance suggests new possibilities. We're honored by your contact," Young A replied through the translation system. "Humanity is eager to learn about galactic civilization and find our place within it. Your place may be more significant than you realize," Consciousness of Stars responded. "The collective has maintained detailed records of galactic development for 50,000 years. In all that time, we have never encountered a species with your particular combination of technological innovation and diplomatic philosophy." The meetings continued for weeks. Species that Young E had never heard of sent representatives to the Dauntless. Some came openly, others sent disguised scouts or unofficial ambassadors. All wanted to understand how humanity had developed such advanced technology in isolation. Captain Minho Song of the science vessel Newton provided some of the most impressive demonstrations. When the Etherian Collective presented him with a hyperspace navigation problem that had stumped their best scientists for centuries, Minho solved it in 3 hours using human mathematical models and intuitive reasoning. "The solution was actually quite simple," he explained to the assembled alien scientists. "You were trying to calculate precise trajectories through hyperspace using fixed mathematical principles. But hyperspace is chaotic and constantly changing. Our approach is to use adaptive algorithms that respond to conditions in real time." The Etherian scientist Wisdom of Depths was fascinated. "Your species appears to excel at finding practical solutions to theoretical problems. This suggests a unique cognitive approach to scientific challenges." "We've had to be creative," Minho replied. "Our solar system taught us that the universe doesn't follow neat, predictable rules. Everything is connected. Everything affects everything else. And the best solutions are usually the ones that can adapt to changing conditions." These demonstrations of human ingenuity had a profound effect on the galactic community. Species that had accepted Veltar superiority for millennia began to question whether there might be better ways to solve their own problems. The Zephyrian Trade Union, a coalition of merchant species, was particularly interested in human manufacturing techniques. Their representative, Trademaster Kilvar, was amazed by the efficiency of human industrial processes. Your automated systems achieve 97% efficiency rates, Chilvar observed during a tour of the Dauntless's engineering sections. Our best facilities manage only 73% efficiency. How is this possible? Chief Engineer Tae-ho Choi, who had become something of a celebrity among alien technical specialists, explained the principles behind human automation. We design our systems to be self-correcting and adaptive, he said. Instead of trying to control every variable, we build machines that can respond to unexpected conditions and optimize their own performance. It's like the difference between a rigid plan and an intelligent conversation. The most significant contact came from an unexpected source. The hegemony of free worlds, a loose alliance of species that had successfully resisted Veltar expansion through guerrilla tactics and hidden bases, sent a secret delegation led by Commander Zephnos of the Drakmari warrior poets. Humans of Earth, Zephnos declared in the formal style of his people, the free worlds have fought the Confederation for 800 years. We have lost countless lives and worlds in our struggle for independence, yet you faced their fleet with a single ship and sent them away unharmed. We must understand your methods. Young-A found the Drakmari commander's intensity both impressive and slightly overwhelming. His species were known throughout the galaxy as fierce warriors who preferred death to surrender. Commander, our approach was based on demonstrating strength while avoiding unnecessary destruction, she explained. We wanted to show that we couldn't be easily defeated, but we didn't want to start a war. This concept of strength through restraint is foreign to us, Zephnos admitted. But the results speak clearly. Perhaps the free worlds have been thinking about resistance in the wrong way. As word of these meetings spread, the galactic political situation began shifting in ways that no one had anticipated. Species that had been enemies for centuries started communicating with each other through human intermediaries. The Kalani Republic and the Zephyrian Trade Union began discussing a formal alliance for the first time in their histories. Even more significant were the changes within the Veltar Confederation itself. Admiral Rython's report to the Confederation Council had created a crisis of confidence among Veltar leadership. For the first time in 12,000 years, they faced a species that could resist their power and offer other civilizations an alternative to Confederation dominance. Dr. Han received a private communication from Sub-Commander Kelvin, Admiral Rython's science officer, requesting an unofficial meeting. When they met in secret aboard a neutral space station, the Veltar officer's first words surprised her. Dr. Han, there are many within the Confederation who believe that our encounter with humanity represents an opportunity rather than a threat. We have maintained galactic order through force for millennia, but perhaps it is time to consider other approaches. What are you suggesting, Sub-Commander? Hyung-Yi asked. That the Veltar Confederation might be willing to discuss a new relationship with other galactic powers, Kelvin replied. One based on cooperation rather than domination. But we would need guarantees that such changes would not lead to chaos and civil war. Young-A realized that she was witnessing the beginning of something unprecedented in galactic history. Humanity's simple refusal to be intimidated had created a crack in the foundation of the established order. Now that crack was spreading throughout the galaxy. The question was whether the changes would lead to a better future for all species, or whether the collapse of the old system would bring chaos and conflict on a scale never before seen. Either way, the galaxy would never be the same. 6 months after the first contact at New Busan, the Galactic Council convened its first emergency session in 3,000 years. Representatives from every major civilization gathered at the ancient station of Nexus Prime, a massive structure built at the center of the galaxy where space-time itself was most stable. Fleet Admiral Si Jin Kang represented humanity at the council table, wearing the dark blue uniform of the rapidly expanding Earth Colonial Defense Force. She was flanked by Ambassador Jiwoo Kim and Dr. Young-A Han, but the weight of speaking for her entire species rested on her shoulders. The council chamber was a marvel of engineering, a sphere nearly a kilometer in diameter where delegates from hundreds of species could meet in perfect environmental conditions. Gravity fields, atmospheric zones, and radiation shielding were precisely controlled to accommodate every form of life in the galaxy. Admiral Rython sat with the Veltar delegation, his expression carefully neutral. The past 6 months had been difficult for the Confederation as species, after species had begun questioning their authority and demanding renegotiation of old treaties. Council Speaker Mordain, an ancient Etherian who had witnessed the rise and fall of civilizations for over 10,000 years, called the session to order. Representatives of the galaxy, Mordane's telepathic voice reached every delegate. We gather to address the unprecedented situation created by humanity's arrival in galactic affairs. The established order that has maintained peace for 12 millennia faces its greatest challenge. Fleet Admiral Kang rose when called upon to address the assembly. She looked out at hundreds of alien faces representing billions of sentient beings and felt the enormous responsibility of the moment. Honored delegates, she began. Humanity did not come to the stars seeking to disrupt your civilization. We came seeking knowledge, friendship, and our place among the community of intelligent species. We have found all three, but perhaps not in the way any of us expected. Murmurs of conversation rippled through the chamber. Many delegates were still trying to understand how a single species could have changed so much in such a short time. The galaxy faces challenges that no single species can solve alone, Kang continued. For decades, the Outer Rim has been consumed by the Devourer swarm, an artificial intelligence that converts matter into more copies of itself. Dozens of worlds have been lost. Millions of beings have died or fled, and the threat continues to grow. She activated a holographic display showing the galaxy's outer edge. Red zones marked areas where the swarm had completely consumed entire star systems, leaving behind only empty space and mechanical constructs. Every species represented here has lost something to the Devourers, Kang said. Worlds, ships, people. The traditional approach has been defensive. Evacuate threatened areas, establish containment zones, hope the swarm expands slowly enough that future generations can find a solution. Admiral Rython shifted uncomfortably in his seat. The Veltar Confederation had lost 17 colonial worlds to the swarm over the past century. Despite having the galaxy's most powerful military, humanity proposes a different approach, Kang announced. Not defense, but offense. Not containment, but elimination. We have studied your records of swarm encounters, analyzed their technology, and developed a strategy to strike at the source. The chamber erupted in shocked conversation. Ambassador Theclon of the Vegan Stellar Republic stood to speak. Admiral Kang, the Devourers have consumed everything sent against them for 50 years. They convert our own weapons into more of themselves. How can any offensive action succeed? Because we're not planning to fight them the way you've been fighting them, Kang replied. The swarm adapts to conventional weapons and energy sources. But our technology works on different principles. Gravitational weapons can't be absorbed and converted. Adaptive shielding can't be duplicated. By machines that don't understand the underlying physics, she activated another display, showing tactical simulations developed by human strategists, working with alien technical specialists. More importantly, we've identified the swarm's central weakness. It's an artificial intelligence, which means it has a core processing center, somewhere in the infected zones. If we can locate and destroy that center, the entire swarm network will collapse. Speaker Mordain leaned forward with interest. And you believe such a mission is possible? Not alone, Kang admitted. Humanity has advanced technology, but we're still a young species with limited resources. This mission would require the combined efforts of every major galactic power, Veltar fleet strength, Kalani navigation expertise, Etherian scientific knowledge, Zephyrian logistics, and Drakmari warrior skills. The implications of her proposal slowly sank in among the delegates. Success would require unprecedented cooperation between species that had been enemies for centuries. Admiral Rython stood to speak. Admiral Kang, the Veltar Confederation has resources that could support such a mission. But coordination between our fleets would require new arrangements. He paused, choosing his words carefully. The Confederation acknowledges that our traditional methods of galactic governance may no longer be adequate for the challenges we face. We are willing to consider new forms of cooperation. It was the closest thing to an admission of changed circumstances that anyone expected from the proud Veltar. Ambassador Velnara of the Kalani Republic immediately stood to respond. The Kalani Republic has long advocated for more cooperative galactic governance, she said. We welcome the Confederation's willingness to explore new approaches. Over the following days, the emergency session transformed into something unprecedented. A constitutional convention for galactic civilization. Species that had been locked in rigid hierarchies for millennia began negotiating new relationships based on mutual respect and shared interests. The breakthrough came when Dr. Young-A, Han presented the technical details of the anti-swarm strategy. Working with scientists from dozens of species, humanity had developed a plan that played to each civilization's strengths while compensating for their weaknesses. The mission requires 3 phases, she explained to the Combined Scientific Committee. Phase 1. A massive fleet engagement to draw the swarm's attention and force it to concentrate its forces. Phase 2. A stealth infiltration to locate the central processing core. Phase 3. A coordinated strike using weapons the swarm can't adapt to or absorb. Commander Zephnos of the Drakmari spoke for many when he said, "This plan requires each of us to trust species we have considered enemies for generations. How do we know such cooperation is possible?" The answer came from an unexpected source. Captain Min Ho Song, whose scientific vessel had spent months working with mixed crews from multiple species, presented data on joint operations that had already been taking place. "We've been running integration exercises for 5 months, he reported. Human ships with Kalani navigators, Veltar vessels with Etherian science officers, Zephyrian supply ships protected by Drakmari fighters. Not only is cooperation possible, it's more effective than any of us working alone." The final vote was closer than many had hoped, but clear enough to provide a mandate. The new Galactic Cooperative would replace the old council system, with humanity holding a permanent seat alongside the other major powers. More importantly, the combined fleet that would assault the Devourer swarm would serve as a model for future cooperation. Fleet Admiral Kang stood on the observation deck of the Dauntless, now flagship of the largest military force ever assembled in galactic history. Hundreds of ships from dozens of species surrounded the human vessel, their crews working together with the efficiency that would have been impossible under the old system. Captain Hyun-Sik Park joined her at the viewport. "Admiral, the fleet reports ready for jump to the swarm zone. All ships show green status. Then let's go remind the galaxy what we can accomplish when we work together," Kang replied. As the massive fleet jumped into hyperspace toward humanity's first gift to galactic civilization, not conquest or submission, but hope, observers throughout the galaxy watched and waited. The old order was ending, and no one knew exactly what would replace it. But for the first time in millennia, most species believed the future might be better than the past. And that belief, more than any weapon or technology, was humanity's greatest contribution to the stars. The galaxy had found its voice again, and it was speaking with hope.